everybody, to In the Company of Charity podcast. This is Sister Liz Schoberg, and I am in the arguably warmest part of the country in the province, down in Texas, and I'm here with my good friend, Sister Elizabeth Greim, in arguably the coldest part of the province.
It is cold. I woke up this morning to a sheet of ice outside. The car was covered in ice. Everything was ice. The kids thought it was great on the way to school. Like, we got to scrape the car off. So everyone has their own scraper in the morning. Yeah.
Well, here
and
in
it was
Brownsville,
tough.
we are having a cold front come through, and it might get down to 60. So we'll see how that goes.
Wow. Well, we are having a little thaw, and it's probably going to be about 40. So, yeah.
Well, listen, we have a wonderful episode.
That's the weather for today.
The weather forecast. We're having a great time.
We are.
2020. We have a great episode today. It's actually quite providential because January 11th is National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. And we have two special guests, Sister Joan and Sister Melissa, who are Sisters of Charity, and they work for Lifeway Network, which is an organization that supports survivors of human trafficking. And it's a great interview, just a little taste of the good work that they are doing. So can you just, for our folks who are new out there, say a word about the Sisters of Charity Federation? So
Sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed this interview. I did this with Sister Salvatrice. We were at a meeting called the Assembly of the Whole, and it was a Sister of Charity Federation meeting. So for those who don't know anything about the Federation, it is the group that is made up of women religious and the Daughters of Charity, Sisters of Charity, who all trace our heritage back to St. Vincent de Paul and St. Louise de Marillac, and through Elizabeth Ann Seton. So in one way or another, we have connections with the three founders of these communities. And so it's really pretty exciting because we're very, very different communities in many, many ways, but in other ways, we're all very, very similar because of the charism of St. Vincent. So we all have the care and the work of the poor as our main focus, and yet each community kind of addresses those needs in their own way and in ways that are relevant and pertinent to them. So this particular work I just found it to be fascinating because to me, it was so Vincentian. And I think that's one of the exciting things about the Federation, is to see the charism of St. Vincent de Paul, the care of the poor, be done in ways that are different, but also, still have the same, that same charism to fall back on.
Yeah, and the thing that really struck me about listening to this interview is that they talked a little bit about the how of doing this kind of work with people who have been through terribly traumatic experiences. And it's not about, okay, somebody's going to come for a year or two and boom, they're going to be great and their life is just going to be peachy keen from then on, but that ministry of presence and just walking with people and being with them. And in this case, actually living in the same place as them. It really is a healing work, but not in the, we're just going to give you resources or, come to this program. They're really in the thick of it and walking with people and living with them in those struggles and in that healing process, which, that could be the beginning of a very beautiful and long healing process for those folks. And
yeah, I
love it.
I really, as they were talking, it's one of those ministries you kind of say, wow, I'd love to be part of that one. There's always one of those ministries that kind of tugs at your heart, and this was one of them for me. Kind of listening to them again. I think talking with two sisters from the Federation and feeling that connection, that their work is our work. Even though we are separate congregations, whether we're from Cincinnati or New York or Halifax or Daughters of Charity of St. Louise or Daughters of Charity of Elizabeth Ann Seton, we all come together in this one place and can see a ministry like this and say, yeah, that's how Vincent and Louise would want us to minister, side by side with those who are struggling, with those who are vulnerable, and be patient and loving and living in the pain and the struggle, but also the achievements together. It's really beautiful, and they do just great work.
Yeah, we hope you enjoy this episode. And not everybody can do this kind of work on the ground like these sisters are doing, but all of us can be involved in this effort of awareness and the fight against human trafficking in some way. And so that's my encouragement for all of us is to get connected to this effort, whether that's just simply learning more about the statistics and the realities, or building that awareness in whatever way we can. So
yeah, definitely check online. There's lots and lots of resources, especially check on the website. The bishop's website will be celebrating the feast of Saint Josephine Bakhita on February 8th, which is kind of the day that the Catholic Church has set aside as a day of awareness and prayer for those who are surviving or victims of human trafficking around the world. So there's all kinds of ways that we can get involved and begin to educate ourselves.
Awesome. And as always, guys, we love your comments, ratings, and reviews on iTunes, and send us any feedback that you have to companyofcharity@gmail.com. Enjoy.
Today, we'd really like to introduce you to two very special people. But first of all, I need to let you know that my co-host today is not Sister Liz, but it is Sister Salvatrice.
Hello.
Yeah, and so you've heard Sister Salvatrice. She's done a couple of interviews. She's awesome, and I'm just really glad that she's here with me. So I would like our two guests to introduce themselves. They're from the Federation, the Sisters of Charity Federation. We'll put a link on the notes for this podcast so you can check that out. So welcome.
Thank you so much indeed. Hello, and I'm Sister Joan Dawber. I am a Sister of Charity of Halifax, the Executive Director of Lifeway Network, and that's me.
That's great.
Hello, I am Sister Melissa Camardo. I'm a Sister of Charity of Leavenworth, and I live in one of Lifeway Network's safe houses for women survivors of trafficking.
Great, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about trafficking, we're going to be talking about Lifeways and how you've tried to address this very, very important issue in the church and in the world today. So tell us a little bit about the Lifeway ministry and the houses themselves. Sister Joan, you are the executive director currently.
That's correct.
Right, and you are the founder.
I am.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Okay, so Lifeway Network was founded in 2007. I just had a sense that survivors of human trafficking didn't have anywhere to stay and to live in New York. So I felt it was really necessary to create something so that they could have somewhere to stay. And I really didn't do it on my own. There was a whole group of sisters who are part of the coalition at the time in New York City, and so together we did it. And it really is, it's a wonderful thing to work together because it provides more than any one person can do alone. So the house actually, right now we have 3 houses, and we have an education program. So let me tell you a little bit about the 3 houses. Each house has a host community of 3 women religious living in it, so that they form this intentional community for the survivors of human trafficking. And we have a house manager in each of the houses, and then the houses share a social worker. And so the women stay with us for about a year. Yeah.
Oh. And so are the women religious from the same congregation? Or are they from different congregations? Is this a collaborative effort among...
Yeah, it's a collaborative effort among several religious communities in New York. And in our first house that we opened, there was a discernment for sisters who came together intentionally to form the host community in that house. And so they're from 3 different congregations, and I think Melissa can say more about that. And then the other houses, we have a group of sisters from Nigeria who actually are the host community members. And then the third house has 3 sisters from the same congregation that is located in New York City.
Wow, that's fantastic. So Melissa, you're on.
Tell us a little bit about your sort of daily life living in one of these houses.
Absolutely. I moved to New York City to be a part of this ministry, and I expected it to be a lot of chaos and wonderment about how it would go. And what I found when I got there was so much joy. So on a daily basis, the sisters in the house are really companions for the women that we serve. We believe that real healing happens in the context of community. And as sisters in the house, part of our role, or a large part of our role, is simply to be a presence to them, to listen deeply, to not judge their stories or them, and to build relationships of trust so that in the healing process and in the ability to move to the next step after our safe house, they have an experience of true and deep community and people that can be trusted, and a sense of their own selves as women.
Wow. And so how would a woman come to your house? Like how does that process happen? I mean, we hear about human trafficking so much, and we hear about rescue projects, and I know I worked in some project in human trafficking in Georgia, and started a small program to address the issues of women who were on the highways. You know, they were being trafficked around the truck stops and things like that. So how would somebody find your house? How does somebody get referred to? What's that like for the woman who's coming?
So women find out about Lifeway Network by accessing services from other social service agencies primarily. A lot of women don't identify themselves as being trafficked, but maybe in an abusive relationship and are seeking help. And so we have partnerships and memorandums of understanding with many agencies in the New York City area who know about us for housing. And then we have an interview process to make sure they're a good fit for our type of community.
So, Sister Joan, can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that come up in this type of a ministry and some of the ways that your ministry addresses them?
I think one of the major challenges is that the women are so individual. You know, each one of them comes from a different experience of human trafficking. Although there's some similarities across the board, each one will have experienced human trafficking in their own particular way. They can be coming from a different country, or they can be from the United States themselves. So bringing those different kinds of groups together in the safe houses, that can be very enriching, and it can be wonderful, and it can also be a source of tension, so that we have to look at that and deal with that. Another source of challenge, I think, for us has been, how do we make sure that they have good housing when they leave us? And that isn't always available, and particularly in the big city like New York City, that's not available at all. One of the things that we're doing is developing a program that follows the safe housing time, where they are in a mentorship program and can start to get some additional help outside of our program, so outside of the safe house time.
And this is really to both of you, maybe just a few sentences. We're here at this Federation meeting. We're talking about charity. We're talking about the Vincentian charism and how each of our congregations lives that charism into the world. So how do you see that the work that you do, the ministry that you're involved in, reflects that charism or lives that charism out And how does that Vincentian charism speak to the ministry that you're in?
We've been talking about unstoppable charity during these days, and I really believe that the women that we serve call us to that way of loving that is really, they teach us and we work with them as well. So I just find that they create in us a need to be able to, well, maybe that's not quite it. Maybe what I want to say is loving them is sometimes very hard, and sometimes it's wonderfully easy. But that's what our work is about. It's loving no matter what.
I would say that part of what we try to do is create a real sense of home, where everyone who lives in the house, the sisters and the survivors, are safe and comfortable to the extent of being who they are and becoming more of who they are. And we do that through mutuality and accompanying one another. So when a survivor tells me a story of her experience of extreme fear and yet extreme courage to escape a trafficking situation, that says something to me about how it enriches my life on how to be courageous. And then I can think about all of the sisters that I know who have shared their stories with me of courage and resilience. And it just continues to expand the sense of community and being one together.
Yeah. You know, I'm reminded of a quote from St. Louise when she talks about that our charity should be given with gentleness and cordiality. But she also talks about tenderness and respect. And what I'm hearing from both of you is that those qualities of charity are also really important. And I think those are sometimes unique qualities that we bring to the work that we do. That, you know, we're often in institutions, but we're looking more and more toward these kind of ministries that allow us to welcome and be welcomed. You know, as you're saying, it's a two-way. It really is that we're trying to welcome them into safety as well as them trying to welcome us into their pain. Yes. And that has to be done with gentleness, you know, with a cordiality of trust, you know, and also then tenderly and respectful. So what would be one last word you would want to give us and give our listeners about the work that you do, or what would you want them to know?
When I think about human trafficking, it's such an enormous global issue and a reality in our world that is often hidden, but comes with so much suffering. And in the face of all of that, the incredible magnitude of the issue and the suffering that comes with it, there are things that can be done. And there are small ways that any of us, whether we're directly involved in anti-trafficking work or not, can bear witness to love and the power of love and bring people to freedom in a way that is proclaiming liberty to captives, as in Luke's gospel and from Isaiah, you know, that's so much a part of our Vincentian call, and to help others experience real lasting freedom because of how we are present to them. Is something that we can all participate in.
It's incredible.
I think the word I would say that comes out of the suffering that we experience with them is this joy that is given to us and is given to them.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you both so much for taking time. We know this was a really busy conference, and so we really appreciate your time. And I appreciate so much Sister Salvatrice joining me for this particular episode.
And I just want to put on the record, too, the commitment of our guests to not only find a space, time-wise and physically, but to actually sit on the floor of the conference at the hotel in order to share this aspect of the charism of charity. So thank you both for doing that.
You're so welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're thrilled to do this with you.
Absolutely welcome.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
This has been In the Company of Charity podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.